What is happening, Magnus sites? So, a few of you sent me this, letting me know that AngryJoe is actually involved in some scandal here, and let it be known that I like AngryJoe's channel. I'm subscribed and I check him out pretty frequently. So, let me see what is actually going on here. It says here, this is called My Interaction with AngryJoe. I'm going to do what I do on my main channel, is I'm going to go through this and I'm going to think critically. Alright? And I'm not going to jump to conclusions about anything. You understand? Alright, so it says here, it's written by Queen of the Feeders. Sounds scary, actually. The fetus. She's their queen. Anyway, I've been holding exactly who this was in for over 2 years now, but after seeing other women come forward about other streamers, I decided to come forward about the day and night of April 7th in 2018 at PAX East. PAX East was my first event that I was able to go to as a Twitch partner. I was just ecstatic. I have never been and was utterly overwhelmed. I was meeting so many cool streamers and people who watch my stream that I felt so welcomed. I eventually went to the Twitch partner party on the night of April 6th, 2018, and brought along a friend I will call Alan. It felt nice having a friend I knew at a huge party like that, where we eventually met Markiplier. But then eventually I started reaching out and randomly introducing myself to streamers and YouTubers. I figured if that didn't want to talk to me, I figured if that didn't want to talk to me, I'd know and leave them alone. Okay. As the night went on, I met a large group of YouTubers, some with millions of subs. I was drinking, but still very coherent during this time. This is when I met Joe. He asked if I was a guest and said I was a smaller partner, but I brought my friend. He said cool and asked to follow me, and I followed him back and was in AWE because he was a larger YouTuber. Aw. I literally just woke up. AW, why? Okay. Alright. Get it together, T. Alan and I eventually went back to our Airbnb that we split after I turned down an after party from a friend because I had one too many Long Islands. I did, however, DM everyone I met, thanking them and saying I was glad to meet them. Joe ended up replying as seen below and inviting me to his panel. I said sure and was clearly oblivious to what the rest of his message meant, but wanted to believe he had no ill intentions. Alright, well, let's see what this message says here. Hey Joe, so glad to have met you. I was Ashley, the crazy lady dressed to impress. I'll definitely try to stop by your panel tomorrow, and I hope we can meet up again. Maybe with less alcohol and more time to talk involved. Of course, Ashley. You were such a cutie in your 80s gear. I loved that theming Just got in myself, so heading to bed only just now, and definitely see you at the panel, which I haven't prepared for at all, and will likely be a complete disaster. But maybe you can cheer me up after if it sucks balls. For sure, but I guarantee it won't at all. Alright, well, I mean, he called her a cutie, so that's a little flirtatious. I don't see it being a bad thing to do. You're allowed to flirt. So, in this part of the story, I don't have any issue. He said maybe you can cheer me up after. So, that has undertones of, hey, maybe we can hang out, we can talk. You know what I mean? Look, this is what guys do when we flirt. At this point in time, I see nothing wrong with anything Joe has said. Okay? You are allowed to flirt with people that you've met. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Keep that, all right? That's how people meet very often. People meet, they get to messaging on Instagram or Facebook or wherever they're messaging or emails, and they flirt. They throw it out there. So nothing is wrong right here with what he has done. The next day after walking around, I get a message from him inviting me to a dinner with people from YouTube again. I assumed nothing of it and thought it would just be people I met the night before. Now, let me stop right here. A lot of times, women are naive to certain things. I'm not calling her stupid, not calling her dumb. I'm just saying sometimes they're a little naive. He's already flirted a little bit, and now he's invited you to a dinner, okay? To me, this is plain and simple. And to experienced women in dating, and older women especially, more mature women, they know exactly what's going on here. They can play coy and all that other stuff, which women do, but they know. Okay? So I agreed. I bring Alan with me, and we sit through his panel, even though we both didn't watch the AngryJoe show. After the Q&A, Alan and I stick around, and I wanted to ask Alan if Alan could come. Instead, Joe grabs me and says, we have to go. And he took me away from Alan. I look... I wonder if it really happened like that. Hey, we gotta go. And just left him standing like a movie with slow piano music. Bling, 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 bling. Bling, 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 bling. I don't know. Anyway, it's so great. Okay. I look back and see Alan staring at what just happened as PAX East security is leading us backstage and through this corridor. Joe looks at me and says, I can't believe you came, and just smiled. And I said, yeah, of course, you asked me to. He then begins to brag that he can only really travel this way around PAX East or he'd get swarmed. I just laugh and say, yeah, I guess that's what happens when people like you, okay, it's just proofreading, there's proofreading mistakes in this, and that's why I've stumbled through certain things also. Now that I think of it, never mind. Security eventually leads us back to a back door, and we end up outside. He attempts to flag a cab down, but people recognize him and take pictures. He smiles and does it. Then we get the cab. He complains the entire time how it smells and how he usually only travels with Uber Black, or with cars YouTube sends for him. I just nod my head because, again, I'm just a small streamer who barely had money to come in the first place, and felt like I was about to blow my entire food budget on one meal to eat with these YouTubers. Joe begins to freak out, and I ask him what's wrong. He started to say he lost his phone and was afraid a fan had it and couldn't believe it. He asked for my phone and called his phone. It ended up being in his pocket. He laughed and said, oh, That was a good one, Joe. That's funny. I used that one. Oh. Ah, my God, it's in my pocket. Now you have her number. I'm going to use that one if I ever become single again. Let's see here. So, geez. Then he plucked away at his phone. I didn't think anything of it, but realized he now had my number. Okay, so let's read the rest of this here. It says, of course, Ashley. No, okay. Okay, I didn't. I thought wait. Oh, okay, I see. It's continuation. Okay, guarantee. Okay. Hey, Ashley, you want to grab dinner with me and some people from YouTube after the panel? For sure. Panel starts at 5, right? I'll be heading over. Okay. So like I already said, to me it's telltale that he's interested and he's flirting and he's invited her to dinner. So far, there's nothing wrong with what he's done, except if he knew she was with her friend and he just snatched her and took her away from him like that, that would have been wrong in my eyes. But we haven't heard Joe's side of the story. This is one side that I'm going through. Right now, Joe's still cool with me. Instead of a restaurant, we end up in front of his hotel. He says it's fine and it would only be a moment. So I get out and walk with him inside. We walk to the hallway and I stay there, but little Joe and Joe himself invites me inside to sit down, so I'm not standing in the hallway myself. That's supposed to be his penis? Or is that, I watched the show, but I don't watch it religiously. Is there another guy named Little Joe? Okay, so I do. Again, I'm assuming he doesn't have bad intentions and didn't want to be that person that says, hey, are you trying to sleep with me? I have a boyfriend, when he was just being nice. So I just stay quiet and say, sure. I'm just standing around. He ends up taking a shower and asking me to join him. I laugh and say, you're funny. And he replied along the lines of saying he knew and the offer was on the table if I decided he wasn't joking. Okay. So right there, he lets his intentions be known. This is assuming this whole story is true. Okay? This is assuming that this whole story is true. If the whole story is true, at this point, he absolutely lets his intentions be known. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If it were me, if this truly happened, and I invited a girl up, and I invited her in the shower. First of all, I wouldn't do it like that because it's just not my style. I have a different way of operating. But some guys do it like this. They're a little bit more forward. If the girl said no, at that point, to me, she's not interested. And for the rest of the night, I will treat her exactly as a girl that is uninterested. So we're going to be cool, we're going to be palling around, but the flirtation is now cut. No more advances, no more nothing. That's me. Some guys will continue to flirt to try to get her. I won't. You've told me no. Okay? But sometimes in a situation like this, it's too aggressive for the girl that is interested in you. She's interested, but like, damn, nice me get in the shower already. We just met. So a girl could still be interested at this point, which she isn't, I can see. But I'm saying, and you could continue and dial it back and continue to flirt and treat her like a good date. But let's continue here. I stay standing and keep pacing. He eventually comes out dressed, but invited me to sit next to him. And I'm like, okay. So, if that is true also, after she says no, then you say, come sit down next to me. that's still a little much because um, at that point, she's already. I would personally feel that she's uncomfortable, and I would want to ease her nerves so that she would be okay around me if I was being a little too aggressive. You get what I'm saying? Um, she said next to me. So I sit at the floor of the bed, and he keeps asking if I'm nervous, and I say yes. I thought we were going to leave, and it's a bit weird. Okay, so she lets him know how she feels. He says there's nothing weird. I'm just waiting until they get the table to put me at ease. Okay. So he starts asking me how I started streaming and just small talk, then starts showing me pictures of his car and other things. But he does so in a way where I have to get close enough that I'm pretty much next to him on the bed. Then he says, say cheese. And he snapped, he snapped a picture of next to him on the bed, and I laughed nervously but asked if we could go. He said, yep, got up, called Little Joe to tell him, we are leaving, and we went downstairs and got a cab. Okay, so Little Joe apparently is somebody. All right, so, what was I going to say? So at that point, if it's true that he snapped the picture like that, like I wouldn't have did that. I wouldn't have did that because the girl is uncomfortable at this point, and she's said that she's uncomfortable, and then you snap the picture, making her more uncomfortable. Now he has this picture of you two together, and he could use it to say, yeah, I get where the girl is going with her thinking here. I get it. Now, at this point, I would say that there's a lot of people out there, men and women, they're kind of oblivious to how they make other people feel. They're naive to how they make other people feel. They don't know. I'm saying if all of this actually happened, at this point I would say that he would be one of those people that may not know how he makes people feel. He doesn't, get the vibes. So we'll see where it goes, okay? I'm in this cab. He's telling me how I'll like this place. At this point, I don't care how much it costs or where it is. I'm just glad someone else will be there. I bring out my phone, and Joe tells me to put it away and to enjoy the time with him. So I do. Okay. Right now it's getting a little... Assuming that he finds it rude. So I try to respect that. So me looking at that, like I said, if it were me, look, she's nervous, she's on her phone, she's uncomfortable, then I tell her to put it away. It's like we're on a date, but we're not, because in her eyes, she's just having dinner with a YouTuber she respects, and in his eyes, it might be something romantic. Okay. Let's see here. So I try to respect that. We finally get to this restaurant, and Joe starts telling me how expensive it is and how hard it is to get a table. I'm a bit nervous again because I didn't have much money, but I keep that to myself because I agreed to come, and I'm not going to expect anyone to pay for my food. Yeah, but if you weren't naive to this, if you recognize the signals, he's probably going to pay for you. Let's see how this goes. But it sounded like he really he invited her on a date. Let me see. As we are walking inside, Joe turns and says, I have to tell them you're my girl. And I look at him like I didn't understand because I assume we're just meeting YouTubers. Now, I will tell you this. With certain events with YouTube, that I've been to, you can bring your significant other. But you can't just bring a buddy, I don't think. But you can bring a significant other to certain dinners and stuff like that. So I'll give him that. Okay? But they can't go to like certain specific meetings for the YouTubers. Okay? So I got you back on that, Joe. So let me see here. He repeats it and just said, go along with it, then drag me in. She was like, okay, so once inside, he starts shaking people's hands, and I don't recognize anyone. He introduced me as his girl and doesn't mention my name once. I sit down and try to see if maybe I can remember who they were, but can't. Joe starts talking about YouTube and his account. I quickly realize he's talking to someone who manages his account, and everyone else at the table are executives or people who specifically deal with AngryJoe. I had absolutely no business being at this lunch. Excuse me. I stare at my plate the whole time and only look up when Joe feels the need to include me in a conversation or nudge me. I attempt to contact Alan or my boyfriend, but Joe pushed my phone away and said it's rude to do that. So I put it away so he wouldn't get mad. Eventually, one of the execs asks me what my YouTube channel was and asked for my business card. I told him I don't have a business card and I don't really do YouTube. He said I should start, and when I do, to let him know. He hands me his business card. Eventually, Joe gets up. Well, that's a good connection you made. Joe gets up and says he has a party he has to go to. He motions for me to get up, and the executives all stand up and tell Joe bye, wave goodbye to me. Joe then turned to me and said, wasn't that nice? Then we get into the cab with little Joe. That little Joe is sitting in too. Okay. So, this is clearly an uncomfortable thing for her. Okay. If it's all true, this is clearly uncomfortable, and Joe at this point is really oblivious to the whole situation and how he's making her feel. All right. If this is all true. When in the cab, Joe is talking about us going to Whiskey's for a party, and I finally think, thank God, because I remember Alan saying there was a huge party there. By this time, 5 hours have passed, and I haven't been able to use my phone once to tell Alan or my boyfriend I was okay. We finally get to Whiskey's, and I realize it's much smaller. Wait a minute. At no point does she tell Joe she's got a boyfriend. You should have told him this. I don't remember reading that. I apologize if I'm wrong, but you should have told Joe that you had a boyfriend. Because at this point, he has repeatedly let you know that he has an interest in you that is more than business. You should have told him that you have a boyfriend. Okay? We finally get to Whiskey's and realize it's much smaller than what Alan had described. I said, this is Whiskey's? And Joe replied, yep, there's 2 of them. My heart immediately sank knowing that we weren't at the one where I would finally meet up with people I knew. Joe whisked me inside, and everyone inside greets him and little Joe. Joe then grabs my purse and phone and hands it to someone where I can't see, and eventually I'm unable to find for several hours. Joe introduces... Okay, well, let me see here. All right, so Joe starts to introduce me to game developers and some of his close friends. I nod my head and say hi, hand out what cards I had, and do what I need to do. This entire time I'm unable to buy my own drinks, and Joe has his hands around me or on me as much as he can. If I'm not glued to him, he had to find me and make it known to whatever male I spoke to that he didn't want them thinking anything other than I was going home with him. I drink some, but eventually hand my drinks off whenever Joe wasn't looking and would try to find my stuff when Joe would go to the bathroom. I eventually grabbed my phone and went outside, sent a text to Alan asking him to help, then called my boyfriend. My boyfriend was clearly upset because I hadn't talked to him for about 7 to 8 hours. I tell him what happened, and he couldn't believe I was talking about the Angry Joe. I tell him how weird he is being, and all of a sudden Joe spun me around and started interrogating me about who I was talking to. I lie and say Alan. He starts getting angry and said, "Your boyfriend?" And I lie and say no. Alan is drunk, so I called it. You should have said your boyfriend. Alright, so wait. Let me get back up here to this. Hey, good meeting you yesterday at Whiskey's. How was the rest of your... Okay, so this is apparently going to come in. Okay, later. Wait a minute. Hey, good meeting you yesterday at Whiskey's. Okay, wait. Alright, so Alan is drunk. I called him and I can tell Joe is drunk and pissed. Joe then asks me what Alan's Twitter handle is to prove he is not only real but is at PAX East. I tell him, he looks it up, he then says whatever and tells me to come inside while he turns away and walks in too. My boyfriend tells me to leave and I tell him my purse is still inside and I need money to get a cab. I go to walk inside and had 2 people I met before stop me along with Joe. Joe starts telling me it's not safe to go back to the Airbnb with Alan because Alan is drunk and he might rape me. What? I say, no way, he's my friend, and I just want to make sure he gets inside okay. Joe starts to say, what kind of man needs help? If he can't handle his alcohol, he doesn't deserve to drink any. The 2 people who agree and repeat, I would be much better off staying with Joe. I repeat again, I need to get back and that friends check on other friends, just like he is doing for me now. A lie, but I can tell he's furious. Eventually, the 2 people went inside. Joe pulled me off to the side, out of sight from the bouncer. Everyone at the bar pushed me against a wall and asked me what my idea was. I replied I had no idea what he meant, and he replied, "You're no better than every other girl. I thought you were better than that." I look at him in shock and he says, "You're no better than every other girl who uses me to get contacts and grow their platform." I immediately deny all of this and tell him I'll give every business card back and say exactly what I thought we were supposed to do. He shakes his head during my explanation and says, "Nope, you're just like them all," as if he's trying to make me feel bad for something I didn't do. He then said, "After I do all this for you, you meet my friends, I take you to dinner that you 2 paid for, I pay for everything that you leave me hanging. At least you could do is come back with me." I immediately say I can't and have to go. He then reminds me to not tell anyone because it would ruin his reputation and mine as well. Some people came outside and asked if we were okay. I say yes and run inside to grab my purse. Okay, so at this point, if it is true, he really is out of hand here. It's creepy and everything, but I gotta tell you, young lady, you should have told him that you had a boyfriend. Okay? As a matter of fact, the point where I would have told him is when he asked you to get in the shower. Okay? I would have said, I'm sorry, I don't think my boyfriend would like that. He might be like, you have a boyfriend? Yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Then if he continued after that, get it? Then, but at this point, at this point, I would think to myself, he's one of those people that doesn't understand certain social cues. He doesn't get when people are uncomfortable or are bothered, or maybe even the opposite. He doesn't know when people are exactly happy or into him. So you should have nipped that in the bud. I'm treating this like a Magnus Answers. You should have told this guy that you have a boyfriend. No matter what his status, no matter who he is on YouTube or Twitch, you should have told him. Okay? So then it says, Joe offers to pay for my cab, to which I say no thanks because I didn't want him knowing where I was staying at all. He then replied, that's surprising, and walked back in the bar. I walk 4 or 5 blocks away and order my own cab so he can't see me and start to cry. I eventually get back to my Airbnb where Alan was and just cry and tell him everything I told you. Alan was pissed, and I told him not to say or do anything because I literally had no proof that he said or did any of that. I then tweet about what happened without naming him, and I ended up leaving PAX East a day early because I was afraid to see him again. I ended up getting an Instagram message from a developer I met at Whiskey's, and he tells me that he now realized what happened, but that at the time he didn't see it for what it was, and that I was right. No one would believe me because I had no proof. I kept this person anonymous as well as I did Alan unless they come forward, but I know I will most likely be attacked for posting this. The screenshots of the Instagram conversation are below. Okay, so I'll take a look. I'll go back and look at that in a minute. I was working with an esports org before and notified the owner, to which I also won't name. They offered to back me and support me as much as they could, and I told them how long ago it happened and the proof I had. They too agreed that I would end up getting dragged and nothing but negativity would come if I came forward, but that would support me. I then informed them my best route was to inform the company that is representing him and try to handle this professionally as possible, since I have no way to prove he said or did anything. I did this. I did, and the company apologized and said they would handle it. Nothing else came of it. While I tweet every once in a while, warning people, I have been way too scared to come forward. I understand my proof relies on a few DMs between Joe and I as well. Instagram messages from someone that I don't have the heart to name unless they come forward. He has done this before. I have no doubt in my mind he has done this to other women in the industry. Everything he did, well, you don't know, but I understand what you're saying. If they did it, if they did it to me, maybe they've done it to someone else, but that's not proof. We don't know. But it's everything he did. He had a reason behind it. I'm sure he'll deny it, but he didn't lose his phone for nothing. He didn't have us take pictures for nothing. He planned it. So if ever did come forward, I would look like I was 100% willing, and he had the proof while I was the word of a small streamer compared to his millions and millions of followers. I honestly have nothing to lose by coming forward and finally saying who did this to me. I'm still a small partner streamer who streams for fun, goes to school full time, and has a career as a programmer ahead of me. Regardless of all the hate I may or may not receive, I hope that that anyone else that he has hurt or coerced into sexual acts because of what he has done for you. Just know you're not alone. It has bothered me every day since it has happened, and that you can talk to me, not worry about me saying anything or feeling like no one will understand you. I'm here for you. To everyone else, please take what you will from this, and no predators come in every form, regardless of how much you like them or think you may know them. While this may kill whatever streaming career I may have had, I don't regret speaking up. I only wish I had done so sooner, and apologize to anyone. Okay, so, all right, let's go back up here. All right. Hey, good meeting you yesterday at Whiskey's. How was the rest of your PAX? Also, I just saw your tweets about yesterday. I'm sorry to hear that's how it went down, but I want you to know that while I can't speak for anyone else, I was with that night on any official level. Just be aware that the guy you're talking about was acting weird toward me and about you. People in the industry saw it, and while we thought it was harmless at the time, seeing your tweet prompted us to have a discussion. The people I was with and the people I know will be keeping an eye on him, hopefully enough that it might prevent something like that happening again. You're right, no one saw what actually went down, so I think people are hesitant to take any sort of position. But he's got a yellow flag now, of course. I mean, now for sure. I'm sorry it went south for you, and I'm glad you got out there safe. By the way, this is top 4% Overwatch. Matt, if you have no idea who this is coming from. Hey, sorry all these messages spammed me at once. And thank you. It was pretty concerning for me that he would try to do that and say that to me. I even told him I would give all the business cards back and keep insisting I was trying to use his, and kept insisting I was trying to use his success when I never in a million years to do that, especially to someone with an established reputation like this. Sorry I didn't see it for what it was at the moment. He didn't say those things until after you left. And I said I had to go for real, and he pulled me outside to say it. And you may be close to him, and that's fine. If I wanted attention, I would have blasted it all over Twitter or some outlet. I just felt very uncomfortable, and him being very persistent about me not leaving and making phone calls, sending texts, was alarming to me. I definitely don't want this to happen again to anyone else, since I'm pretty sure he picked me out because I'm a new partner and thought I'd be an easy target. I'm just glad I'm 26 and been through some similar. And he knew the signs. I'm definitely handling this privately and appreciate you messaging me because I already have people. And him being very persistent about me not leaving or making phone calls, sending texts was alarming me. I definitely don't want this to happen again to anyone else, since I'm pretty sure he picked me out because I'm okay. I'm not too close to him. I'm not close to him. I didn't even know he was a streamer. Never met him before. And yeah, no matter how you handle it, there's a real pile of toxic people. Yeah. So, all right. So this is what I have to say to that. This situation is actually really classic in that the girl is being too nice. I tell Scarlett this all the time. She's too nice. That is her main weakness. She is too nice and not upfront enough with people. A lot of guys have this problem too. I used to have it. As you can see, if you follow my YouTube channel, you know I'm very upfront with a lot of things. I've seen this story before. Okay? I've seen it with friends. I've seen it with people I don't know. I've seen it with letters and emails that I get from you. You have to be upfront with people. At that point, if this is all true, and this is not just some person that's trying to get back at him because he's a big YouTuber and they know some type of scandal like this would hurt him. If this is all true, yes, he was being creepy. Yes, he was being creepy. He went too far. He didn't try to rape her. He didn't try to force himself on her in any sexual way. But he was a little too aggressive and forward with certain things, and he didn't take any hints. As if this is true, okay? I keep saying that because I'm not going to attack Joe, and I'm not going to attack this girl. But what I'm trying to do is look at it on each side, okay? You had a boyfriend, okay? Let me tell you something, okay? Let me explain something. If Scarlo was at an event and she tells me that another guy invited her to dinner, first of all, she knows, Scarlo is like super loyal to the point that she shuts down guys that have only good intentions. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she shuts down guys that are just being friendly. She's that type. We guys know or have a friend or have a girlfriend that's like that. You can't even be nice to them because they're going to be slightly standoffish because they don't trust any guy being nice. She's like that. Even though she still is too nice in other respects. Okay? There is no way in hell Scarlo would have went to dinner with any other guy at some event. She would have only gone to a dinner that only a group of people were going to. A group dinner, not something like that. She wouldn't have. So yes, I'm speaking to you, young lady, that if this story is 100% true, he did not take your hints. He may have gotten a little creepy, but you should have told him that you had a boyfriend. And you should not have went on this date with him. I'm talking to you like you are my little sister, like you are my friend, my cousin, a girl I know, someone writing into me. You should have nipped that in the bud, no matter what it, you need to throw all your cards on the table so there are no misunderstandings. You know, there are some women out there that are so abruptly upfront, they're almost abrasive. They'll be like, we can go to dinner, but only as friends because I do have a boyfriend and there will be no hanky-panky whatsoever, sir. If you are fine with having a business dinner with me as YouTube colleagues and Twitch streamers, yes, I will come with you. But I have a boyfriend, and if you have any other intentions, it ain't happening, baby. There are women that talk like that. They are very rare, but there are women like that. If you had been that upfront with him, all the rest of this, I can pretty much guarantee you, would not have happened. That's all I'm saying, okay? If this story is 100% true, you are both wrong. That's how I feel. Okay? There are probably a lot of other things I can get into with this, but this is a classic dating misunderstanding. Okay? In the dating game, a man expresses his intentions subtly. A girl doesn't recognize it. And then she may not be totally upfront with him. Subtly. She's nervous. She says things are weird. He doesn't take the hint. And he still pursues because maybe she's just playing a little hard to get. Maybe she's just nervous. Maybe she's just scared a little bit because I'm Angry Joe. So I have to keep pursuing her. I don't know if any of this is true. I'm just saying this stuff happens. I'm not condemning Angry Joe, and I'm not condemning you, young lady. I'm just saying people need to be more upfront with their intentions. As a matter of fact, he could have been more upfront. He could have said, you know what? This may be a little out of hand, but you are absolutely gorgeous. If you don't have a boyfriend, would you like to accompany me to this YouTube dinner? Because I'd like to get to know you better. And you have a chance to kind of, rub shoulders with some of the people in the industry. He could have went that way too. And that would have been placing everything on the table. You would have said, yes, I do have a boyfriend. And then you went to the dinner. There are a lot of ways to handle this. Post comments down below. Let me know what you all think. If you enjoyed my reaction to this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. 10 million subscribers.